The debates are tonight. Canada's excited. Welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie B. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because I am here every day giving you daily election coverage from all points of the internet that you may not see. And I will be live election night in Ottawa, and I am very, very excited for this amazing historical election. So let's get into today's video. So today, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I am having, I don't know if you guys know this, if you're watching, but I am injured from something safe and effective. So I no longer work, and that is why I am here. And today I am having a very bad day. So I'm going to be talking to you guys from the heart today before the debates happen and all of the stuff. Okay, I'm going to say a couple of things about Carney and this entire button thing, because CBC is kind of being sassy towards Mark Carney. Honestly, yesterday we had CPAC on because I thought the French debates were last night. And so I was watching a bit of CPAC. CPAC is probably the only place that is very still pro-Carney. Now, I don't know. I would say the rest are against Pierre, you know what I mean? And more neutral, if anything, on Mark Carney's side. But last night, CPAC, I couldn't believe what I was watching. They were like, what were they saying? They were so sure of themselves, as if the election had just happened and the polls are everything to them. Like, they are like, you know, it's like a 99% chance that Mark Carney is going to get a majority government. Majority! And then they were like, it's going to be around the same for conservatives. Are you serious? In what world? Because honestly, the thing is, I watched so much of the American election and I didn't know who was going to win. I didn't know. And I still don't know because I'm not a psychic and I don't know what could happen or what, you know, whatever. But I had no idea. People were very sure that Kamala had that in the bag. And you know what? All of the newscasts afterwards were like upset because I remember one quote specifically, and he said, they told us that they had this in the bag. They told us that they knew what was going on. They told us that these were solid answers. Like, these polls were solid and true. How can you even believe that in the first place and think that that's an okay thing to not report on? Why would they be so sure of themselves if it wasn't anything other than not being fair? You know what I mean? You can't guarantee, if this is actually democracy, the polls don't do they don't say anything. It's just like, you guys, when I see Mr. Sunshine Baby, Jasper, he has such a cool name. I don't know why he doesn't just go by his cool name. But when I see him make a thing that says, do you think who's going to win the next election? And the majority of his audience pick Pierre Poilievre. I know enough to know about math to know that that's not the best poll to take and run and say, because it's all mostly people who are pro-Pierre. Even I know that. You know what I mean? Do we even have common sense? No, which is exactly why we need Pierre Poilievre. I genuinely, after hearing about Buttongate and all of the connections with Doug, what is going on? I do not understand. People being like, are you believing the polls? The setup with the CBC, with the article that said, are people even going to be believing the poll or the election results? Are they going to be election deniers? Blah, blah, blah. As they're actively telling us about foreign interference. Like, the amount of gaslighting from our Canadian media sometimes just drives me up the wall. It drives me up the wall. I cannot even watch this program because these people just act like they know so matter of fact of all of the struggling Canadians while they get paid so much money of our tax dollars to promote the billionaire. Oh my gosh. And, you know, yesterday I made this TikTok and it was just like, what is it called when you're a country? Because I watched the Northern Perspective interview with the woman who was in testifying about Bill C, oh my gosh, 75? I think. The one about domestic violence. The anger that flows through my body is what inspires me to speak. Because what do you mean she was interrupted by liberals while she's talking about her attack? What is wrong with them? Seriously, what is wrong with them? Why would they cut her off and make it about abortion? And then you just think about all of the things that they have done to us. The depths of the cracks, like, think about it as like a roast beef when it's cooked. I made roast beef last night and I thought about this. And I was pouring the gravy and it was getting into all the little intricate details. And I was like, oh, this is like the liberal corruption, and the roast is Canada and the liberal corruption is the gravy going through the roast and then entirely smothering it. Except for that's very delicious. This is not, okay? But the corruption and the lengths that they go to make sure that their corruption continues and that people's lives are lost, when they know lives are being lost, they know that they're not investing. Like, the whole idea of some sort of social program, because I went to school for this stuff. The whole idea of a social program, like having people be allowed out on bail, is because of some sort of issue with people not getting fair trials or something like that, or, you know, they have to wait a long time to get trials. So the solution is to put the criminals back on the streets or shut down the courts for 2 years and delay everything. Do you see what I'm saying here? Like, no, it's also to invest into social programs in our schools and in our at-risk communities so that we're putting these preventative measures. They're like, well, like that one time they were questioning Pierre Poilievre, and Pierre Poilievre said, well, these are criminals. They're doing crime. And they're like, well, why are they doing crime? Isn't it society's fault? Society? The government? The liberals that are putting all these policies in place and not doing anything about it? It's like harm reduction. They've half-assed all of these social programs that could potentially work and do sometimes work in other countries, but we have not done them correctly, and we've actually made things significantly worse. How about, instead of letting everybody back out on bail who has committed a heinous crime, you have them, I don't know, go through all of the programs that they know work. I went and did a semester at a domestic violence shelter. There's a group that men participated in. It was like a family thing, because the whole idea back then was to reunite all the time and get people the therapy that they need. Like, we were already doing all of this. This is what makes me the most upset, is that what we needed was more of what we were doing back in 2015. And instead of doing more of what we were doing back in 2015, we did different horrendous things that are now ruining people's lives. Okay. So that really inspired me to talk about this. Yeah. Because honestly, you guys, they have thrown so much about, they have done so much, and there's been so many scandals that sometimes something is brought up and I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot about that. That is so unbelievably, it needs attention. It deserves attention. All of these people who have struggled and gone through so much hardships at the hands of the government, which is called oppression, by the way, deserve to have their voices heard. And so that's why I'm here telling you guys to go watch that interview. I am sure that every single one of my audience has already watched the Northern Perspective interview, because Northern Perspective is great. But if you haven't, please go watch that interview. It made me cry. I just can't even believe that our government officials would do that to her and call themselves feminists. But in the second half of the video, I'm going to be a little bit more hopeful. So in this time of, uncertainty, I see more of us content creators getting more nervous the closer we get to the election, and I am as well. And I just want to remind everybody what Canada could be and what it was, okay? Because I think people seem to forget that we were our own nation. And we did define ourselves by certain things. So let's get into why I have hope that the old Canada can come back, and why I think that Pierre Poilievre can help us get there. And it will obviously be a new version of the old Canada, because things can't go always back. But at the same time, I want to remind people of something. Canada was a place where if you were a single mom, you could get ahead. If you wanted to choose life, whatever you needed to choose, you had those options to choose. We are not the Republicans. We value family. If women choose life here, we help them with the tools that they need to be able to get ahead. And that used to be something that could be achievable, but now with Trudeau, even people like me I was a young parent, we made so much sacrifice. I went to school 1 week after I gave birth to my son, okay? And I made so much sacrifice that I should be in a place right now, we as a family, and what the job my husband does and how hard he works and how much he should be getting paid versus how much they're taxing him. We should be ahead right now, but we're not ahead, and not a lot of people are. And Canada used to not be a place where you were constantly drowning. It was a place of community. It was a place where, we are the people who stop on the side of the road and make sure everyone stops while the baby ducks get across the road, okay? We are up north, but we were down south, the people who smiled at each other as you're walking down the road, even if you don't know each other. We were the people who, up north, we are the people who wave to each other when we're on a back road. We don't know each other. We just wave, smile and wave, because we're on the same road. I don't know what it is, but I love it. In times of crisis, we come together and we have a community, and people really show up for people in a time of crisis, We were connected. I don't know about you guys, but before Trudeau, I really regularly was seeing family all the time. And I know you're thinking, well, Jamie, you live up north now. Yeah, because everybody's separated. My grandma's dead. It's not the same. And not only that, back in the day before Trudeau, we wouldn't have had to move up here to buy a house that didn't cost a fortune, but also fit us. House prices were the first thing that went up when Trudeau got it. Before Trudeau, we all could think different politically and get along and know that we each bring, something to the conversation. We used to debate in our schools. We used to, learn how to debate so that when you went out into the real world, you knew that not to take debate so seriously. And not only that you knew how to debate and see things from other people's point of views. That was something we fundamentally learned in our schools. We had the number one, or not number one, I think it was like number 3 public school system in the world that has now been absolutely destroyed by DEI. Because I have no idea how anybody can sit there and look at all of the policies and stuff and think, yeah, this is a good idea to let kids get away with whatever they want because they're mentally ill. It's the same as the bail system. Yeah, let's let criminals get away with stuff because of DEI, because of, they might have gone through something this morning or, in their childhood, and this is why they are the way that they are. So they don't need to then go and create more and more victims and not get the help that they need. That doesn't make any sense. We used to have the best schooling system, one of the best health cares. I used to, when my daughter was born, I was having a lot of troubles with my intestines, like I am now. That's when I changed my life around and stopped eating garbage all the time. And anyways, I had access to all of these different things in less than a month. I remember complaining that I had to wait 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Not even comparable. Not even comparable to now. I remember getting into a specialist right away when my daughter had a mole that was funky. You're waiting years in Canada, months, years to see a specialist, if we have a specialist, because all of the doctors, no one's incentivized to come here because you don't make any money. Okay, taxing people into oblivion doesn't make people stay here. They're going to leave to go to America to earn way more. That's just a fact. All my life, my mom has drilled into my head that hard work pays off, hard work pays off, hard work pays off, but hard work no longer pays off. I'm just saying, hard work no longer pays off, and I'm getting sick and tired of it, but that's exactly why that's why I'm voting for Pierre Poilievre. First of all, he wants to make our streets safer. Number one, I would love to be able to take my kids to do cool things without being worried that I was going to be stabbed or shot in a parking lot, step on a needle, any one of those things. This is not progressive. We have abandoned people completely in the name of progressiveness, and I just genuinely, I don't understand. I don't understand how so many people can think that Pierre Poilievre is going to take away our human rights. Guys, our human rights have been gone. The rights of us as citizens have been gone for a while, and we actually need to bring them back. We need people to get paid for the work that they do, and if they're taxed, have access to those. We need to be able to, first of all, see where every single cent of our dollar is going. Number one. Number two, if you're going to take taxes from us, make sure that these services work and are functioning. Who runs the hospitals? Who makes sure that, you guys must take as long as damn well possible to be able to look at people. You know what I mean? Like, what is the hospital system? How do we not revamp it? This can't just be on the premiers. This has got to be on everybody from federal to provincial to the CEOs to the board members to the unions. Everybody needs to get their act together. And that's like, you guys, if you're in a union and they support Pierre Poilievre and you disagree, I know that it's going to make you stand out like a sore thumb, but you need to stick up for yourself. If that's what you believe in, if you believe that you disagree with your unions, we need to be sticking up against our unions because they no longer have our best interests at heart. And we all know that when they mandated all of the vaccines instead of protecting our bodily autonomy, which is my number one thing. And Pierre Poilievre has already tried to put a bill through that made the mandates go away federally in every province, that it was illegal to discriminate people against that, and the Liberals and the NDP voted against it. So, and the Liberals will sit there online and say things like, your bodily autonomy wasn't broken. Get real, girl. Get real. Okay, you get real, because I'm not the only one who's injured. I'm just one of the only ones talking about it out loud. But everybody, just know that when you cast your vote, you don't have to tell anybody who you vote for. Think about the country that we had prior to Trudeau. I know Stephen Harper wasn't perfect, but Stephen Harper and Jack Layton led country versus Trudeau and the NDP led country. Overall, I think the numbers show for themselves. So tell me, guys, who are you voting for? And what was your favorite part of Canada before Justin Trudeau ruined it? Mine was going to Toronto. It was so much fun. I loved concerts when concerts weren't for only the elites. And loved going to dinners at the little diners and then going shopping with my mom on Queen Street. Oh, and then I met Panic at the Disco at Much Music because that was a thing. At Much on Demand. So tell me, what was your best part of living in Canada pre-Trudeau? Have a good one, guys.